Thank you, Mr. Chair. My amendment appropriates approximately $50,000 or up to $50,000 from the retention bonuses of senior executive personnel at the EPA to conduct a study of whether Agricola americas, the American farmer, should be classified as an endangered species. This money should be used to determine whether there is critical habitat that is essential for the conservation of the species and acting in accordance with 16 United States Code Section Chapter 35, and if such finding is made. The federal government is no stranger to using its regulatory powers to interfere in important national issues. So it came as a surprise when I discovered that the federal government had overlooked the most endangered species in America. The Fish and Wildlife Service has been so thorough in designating animals as endangered all around farms, but for some reason haven't seen the plight of the American farmer. Paul Harvey recognized in 1978 that God made Agricola americas with a unique set of characteristics essential to our nation. So I am troubled that the number of farmers in America has steadily declined over the last 6 decades. Not only has the number of American farmers shrunk, but so has the number of farms. Those lost have mainly been family farms, passed down through generations of hard work and built up with years of sweat equity. They have faced numerous man-made obstacles that interfere with their environment and encroach on their natural territory. They have been subject to the ravages of wolves released by the very agency that should be tasked with protecting this essential American species. Yet the Department of Interior does not have a monopoly on society's invasion of the American habitat. Family farms have been destroyed by the death tax, regulated out of business by FDA and EPA mandates, and forced to dump crops by outdated government programs that even now are being struck down by the Supreme Court. How much more of this regulatory onslaught can the Agricola Americas take before we recognize the harm of our actions and work to make sure that we are not complicit in its disappearance? We cannot leave the farmer alone in the eye of this regulatory storm. I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Colorado reserves the balance of his time. For what purpose does the gentleman from California seek recognition?
I must insist on my point of order. Mr. Chairman, I make a point of order against the amendment because it provides for an appropriation for an unauthorized program, therefore violates Clause 2 of Rule 21. Clause 2 of Rule 21 states in pertinent part, an appropriation may not be in order as an amendment for an expenditure not previously authorized by law. Mr. Chairman, the amendment proposes to appropriate funds the amendment therefore violates Clause 2 of Rule 21, and I'm asking for a ruling of the chair.
Does any other member wish to be recognized on the point of order?
I will withdraw the proposed amendment, Mr. Chair.
Objection. The amendment is withdrawn.
I have another amendment at the desk.
And we'll specify which amendment.
It is amendment number 21.
Clerk will report the amendment. Excuse me.
Amendment offered by Mr. Buck of Colorado. At the end of the bill, before the short title, insert the following section. None of the funds made available in this act may be used to pay the salaries and expenses of personnel or any other entity to negotiate or conclude a settlement with the federal government that includes terms requiring the defendant to donate or contribute funds to an organization or individual.
Pursuant to House Resolution 333, the gentleman from Colorado and a member opposed each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Colorado.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My amendment bars the EPA and the Department of Interior and any of its agencies from requiring mandatory donations to third-party groups as part of any settlement agreements the agencies enter into. Agencies across the government, settlement funds are being funneled to third-party groups, contravening congressional budget authority. A recent investigation by the House Judiciary and Financial Services Committees found as much as $500 million had been diverted by the Department of Justice to third parties as a result of these settlements in the past year. This is inexcusable, and it is not unique to the Department of Justice. At the Department of Interior, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service routinely sue and then enter into settlements with businesses and individuals who then are forced to make donations to third-party groups. This is all made possible because of community services expressly allowed as a condition of probation by the United States Criminal Code. In addition, the United States sentencing guidelines allow community service where it is reasonably designed to repair the harm caused by the offense. This results in settlement funds being directed to suppose community service groups. This is a practice that must be brought to an end. As Thomas Jefferson once wrote, to compel a man to furnish contributions of money for the propagation of opinions which he disbelieves and abhors is sinful and tyrannical. In this case, businesses and individuals are being sued by the government for violating environmental regulations, and then as part of the settlement, they have to make payments to the environmental organizations that engage in advocacy supporting the regulations. This power grab is abhorrent. Please support my amendment and stop these agencies from funneling court settlement funds to radical environmentalists. I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman from